Ohma is probably the most divisive thing in King and Ashura, and it does make sense since he is the character who we spend the most time with, and when we are with the character for plus 100 chapters, you are bound to love them, but just because you love them doesn't mean you shouldn't ignore their flaws. Ohma is just another main character with the same shonen formula of a blandly designed male that eats a lot and is aloof to women. And credit to Sadro, as at the start, Ohma was more of a constantly angry, arrogant person with a possible attraction to women, or at least having the ability to understand when they're attracted to him. But I should also take that credit back, as that is more of a stereotype than a character, and it is also what caused people to drop the series. People will say that his former character was fine since he grew, but he didn't grow. He just had small changes throughout the series that caused him to change for no reason. For example, from the Orion fight, from the Rito fight to the Inaba fight, Ohma doesn't grow, but for some reason gets a respect for weaker people which he never had before. And if you want to say it's because Rito's an arsehole, you can't, because he also treated Kamada, Karate Fodder, and everyone in the pre-tournament the same. There are tons of these small changes that people forget about, and even though the author is basically rewriting his entire character, he only ended up becoming a boring plank of wood. My guess is that when the reviews came out, the editor told Sadro to change Ohma. That is why Ohma becomes more and more aloof and less angry, even though he constantly remembers his dead dad and sees people much stronger than him. These two things should make him livid throughout the entire series, but that's far from the worst thing about him. Think about this. Cosmo, a super genius, trains for years in one fighting style, only to be beaten by somebody with much less skill in it, because that person uses a style that, even though it's only been around for about 30 years, has the best techniques of every martial art. Basically, the Niko style is an overpowered style that beats other styles that's been around for thousands of years. It has the best footwork, the best defensive techniques, best offensive techniques as Demon's Bane, the advanced Fallen Demon, and the ability to beat almost everybody else in the tournament. Ohma learned the full Niko style in 6 years, meaning at 16, he would have the ability to beat people of 30 years and older who have been advancing their craft, and he can easily beat them just because of 6 years of training. Just imagine if Gaolong or Hatsuki, people who have trained from about the same age as Ohma, had the Niko style. If either of them did, they would have been able to win the tournament. Also imagine Watatsuki using Indestructible. He would be invincible. Another problem with Ohma is that anytime he is struggling, he suddenly gains a new technique or mystically improves his accuracy. Not only that, when he does gain techniques, the author goes back and says that he gained more than shown at the time, so that when it appears that Ohma is losing, he actually has a secret victory card. For example, in round 2, 3, and 4, Ohma had an average of 2 power-ups per round. 3 for Ryan, 1 for Cosmo, and 2 for Hatsuki. So when people say Ohma isn't overpowered because he lost, you can see that argument, it's trash. And the one time he does lose, it's when the author makes him pull an incredibly stupid move that can only end in failure. Ohma can turn almost any match in his favor, and for him to lose, the author had to weaken him by an incredible degree by making him lose focus at the worst moment, putting limits on advance which were never there beforehand, making Ohma as dumb as Rito, making Ohma's opponent so powerful that he sort of breaks the world, as they only took lasting damage from one fight against the strongest person in the tournament, despite having one of the most dangerous routes in the tournament, and giving Ohma's opponent foresight at the age of 50 and failing foresight at the age of 30, but not Ohma, who has had more fights than anybody else because of dream training and the way he lives. Overall, Ohma is unbeatable until he isn't, and the Niko style, despite being the younger style by a few hundred years, stomps every other one, even the Kuro clans, which has been around for a few thousand years and has thousands of users, while the Niko style has less than 100. When making Omega, Sadrovic made Gao, who is basically Ohma but with a few changes. Gao uses the pre-Niko style, so for now he isn't anywhere near as powerful as Ohma. He also doesn't get memory boosts, and has a goal which has something to do with taking down the worm, which is now taken seriously. Gao also has personality, mysteries, and relationships, which are just far more interesting than Ohma's. He is better than Ohma as a character and as an MC in almost every way. Ohma does have his uses though, as training people in the Niko style or reviving it, but he has never shown an interest in that, and if he does, his students will just become targets of the worm and others. Making him teach Koga the Niko style would also be a waste, since Koga has already become his own person and is now strong enough to enter the Kengan matches. And if Ohma does teach Koga or anybody else, then there'll be another OP person. You could say that Ohma won't have enough time to teach them everything, but even if he taught them only a few moves, it's important to remember that the Fang almost completely won his second round match by only using Indestructible. And while it is one of the better Niko Style techniques, if Ohma had to teach anybody 2 techniques, just 2, from each Niko Style guitar, I guarantee you that they'll be able to beat the current Koga and be able to go far in the tournament. Think about it. 2 techniques from every Niko Style guitar. The Fang didn't have that, so did Kuroki. He didn't also have that. Anybody who has that could beat Ryan and so many other people just because of how overpowered the Niko Style is. Granted that they have mastered those 2 techniques.
Tokita has a quite weaker body, so talks too much pointed this out. That essentially the point is that they wanted to clone Tokita as he is such a strong fighter or some shit. But people like Wakatsuki have a syndrome that without having great technique, Wakatsuki is arguably quite maybe stronger than Tokita or quite even, since in the fight Tokita just with a lot of luck and a lot of skill could defeat Wakatsuki, even though Wakatsuki even though he didn't really use that much technique. So the point is, Wakatsuki using the Niko Style would be unbeatable. So why don't clone you Wakatsuki, some Wakatsuki clones than Tokita clones? That's the point. And it's really shitty that he is back. And kind of everything that happened in Kengan Ashura is undone. So all the damage to his body, which the most interesting part about Tokita was the advance damaged his body and his eyes were tearing up with blood and all that, and he lost memories midway in the fight and some shit, like in the fight against Wayne. Really interesting. All gone. It's all undone. He's perfectly fine now, and that's the point. I'm spinning around.